Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to take a look at what Google Classroom looks like from the student perspective, and then what parents will see if you invite them to Google Classroom. I am going to apologize ahead of time if there's a little extra noise. I am sitting where one of the school copiers are, and occasionally it starts to work. So if it starts to go off in the middle of something, I'll stop talking just to make sure that you all catch what I say. Please feel free to ask questions, unmute yourself and ask, or throw questions into the chat box, whatever works. And then if you would like an opportunity, when I'm done explaining everything, I will give you access to the Google Classroom as a student so you can go in and play if you'd like. So I am going to start by presenting my screen so that you can see everything that I've got going on. And just be aware that as I'm presenting my screen, if you throw something in the chat bar, I'm not going to see it until I come back. So don't be afraid to interrupt me. So I have a Classroom right here that I created specifically for this. And I have joined using a GRCSU account that is not my own so that we can take a look at what the students will see. And we're going to let the copier go for a second here. Okay. All right. So when students first come into their classroom, this is where they're brought to every time, and they will see all of the classes that they have. For our elementary students, they're only going to see their one classroom. For our middle and high school students, they will most likely see multiple classrooms because they have different teachers that they're traveling to throughout the day. Students will, the very first time that they come in, they will see this and be asked to join if you have invited them. If they have not been invited, they would join using a code. Sometimes our teachers put up a code and ask students to join using that. So if they're asked to join using a code, they come up to this plus button here, join class. They click on it, and it just asks them for their code right there. They enter the code, and then they would click the join button, and the class would show up right here. Some other features that they see on their home screen here, they now have a to-do list. So if we click on that, students will see any upcoming assignments. They'll see if they have assignments that are due this week. They will see if they have anything due the following week, and then anything due further out than a week. They can come up, they can check to see, do they have any missing assignments that they need to go complete? And then they can also check any work that has been completed. They have a calendar that they can look at. This is just a Google Calendar, but it will show them in calendar view assignments that they have coming up. So we see that we've got 2 assignments that are due tomorrow. So if we enter our classroom, the students automatically are brought to their stream, their home page. Here they will see a Meets link. Many teachers are choosing to use this link for meeting with students rather than generating something in Google Calendar. So if on a weekly schedule, a teacher says to join at a certain time using the Google Classroom link, this is where students would go to find that. And it works the same as if you were using a link that was emailed or a link that's in Calendar. The only difference is sometimes students will click on this link before the teacher has logged in. They will click join, and then it will tell them that they're waiting. And so the benefit for teachers using this link is that the students cannot join the Meet until the teacher has joined. And then when the teacher has left, the link goes dead within 5 minutes until the next time the teacher chooses to log in. Students will see upcoming assignments here as well. So they've got multiple places where they can go to see the work that they have coming up. And then occasionally there will be messages for students within the stream here. Now, depending on where you are, your school may choose to use this differently. At Proctor, we have made the decision at the elementary level that this stream will be used purely for important announcements, that students will not see assignments popping up. I'm sure that was something that was very overwhelming to students last year, is that anytime a teacher posted an assignment, it would pop up in this stream and it became very long and cumbersome. So teachers have been shown how to turn that off. And I can go in and show you from the teacher end of things how to turn that off, but chances are the at least the IAs, the teachers would have done it already. The classwork page is where students are going to spend a lot of their time. Teachers are going to create topics for students. Some schools may be creating topics by content areas. Some may be creating topics by the week. Students, if they want to focus on one specific thing, can click on the topic and it will only show the assignments that are under that topic. So I thought that what we would do is we would go in and see the different types of posts that students might encounter. So my first topic I have is assignments. These are things that would have due dates many times from teachers and require student responses. So let's go on the first one, staying active. When I click on it, it kind of gives me a brief overview, but if I really want to see the entire assignment, I'm going to come down here to click View Assignment, and it's going to put that right up on the page for me. So I have an assignment, and it says, reflect on your summer and journal about one thing you did to stay active. Please journal in a Google Doc and attach it for credit. So sometimes when teachers give assignments, they do not give the student the document to work in. Students have to create that themselves, and then they have to add it to the assignment. So in this case, I have asked students to create their own. So from this page, all they have to do is over here, your work, add or create. We're going to click on the plus, and we want to create a document. And then students, once that's created, all the student has to do is go into it and they can start journaling or completing the assignment. Once the student is finished, I'm going to X out of this. Nope. One thing to know is that students can, if the document is linked to their Google Classroom like this one is, so this document is now linked to their Google Classroom, they can turn it in right here from the document. They don't have to turn it in from Classroom. So they've got the choice. They can turn in here, or they can turn in their assignment here. Now, these students here have a rubric that they will be scored on. So what we can do is expand that. And so students can see how they're going to be scored on this assignment. If they are beginning, that'd be a level 1. They might be able to just write a sentence about how they stayed active. Approaching would be a 2. They can write a simple paragraph. 3 would be meeting. They can write a detailed paragraph. And then 4, exceeding, is they can write several detailed paragraphs. Including a rubric here just lets students know what the expectations are. So now as a student, I can go in and see, hey, if I want to be meeting the expectations, I need to make sure that I'm writing a detailed paragraph so that they can see that. They can minimize that and hide it as well. The next assignment that I've given them is a different reflection. I'm going to view this one. Okay. Now this one already has a document attached to it. So I have made a template for students to go in and fill out. It made a copy for each student. So all they have to do is click on this and just go in and write like they normally would. So they could answer their questions, you know, while it's exciting to be back in school with each other. I know I'll miss my time with my family. What's something you'll be missing at home? So that they can just journal. And then they'll have the same options up here in the upper right-hand corner once it's done loading, that they can turn it in right from here, or they can turn it in from here. You will notice that I did not attach a rubric. And this is not being graded. There's no, it'll tell them right up here underneath the assignment name if it's being graded or not. The next type of assignment that I've given them is I've given them a question. So we're going to go in and look at this. And so the question I asked them is I told them, I said, I binged The Mandalorian on Disney Plus this spring. What book or TV show did you really enjoy during the past 6 months? So the child could just type in their answer. Yep, that's a comment. I apologize. So, and that's a good confusion. If down here is a class comment, so this is not going to answer the question for the teacher to see they've completed the assignment. If I want to answer this question, I'm going to come over here on the right-hand side. It says my answer. I would type in my answer over here. So I would do that, click turn in. It's going to ask, are you sure? And every time they turn in an assignment, it's going to just ask them, are they sure that they want to turn it in? And they have now turned that in. They can go see classmate answers to see if anybody else has written anything, things like that. The next type of assignment, now you're going to notice that this is no longer blue. It's because I've completed my assignment. So that's another way for them to see that, that things have been completed. The next one that I asked them, okay, so there's a few different types of questions. So the first one I asked them was a short answer. This one I gave them a multiple choice. Do you prefer cats or dogs or both? And so they can choose their answer and turn it in, just so that you can see the different types of questions that students might encounter. All right, then I've given them a quiz. The great thing about Google Classroom is it talks nicely with Google Drive, and we can throw Google Forms in there just as quizzes. So as a student, I'm going to click on the quiz, and I would go in and I would answer. So what operation would you use to find the sum of two numbers? What is the product of 4 and 5? Make sure these were easy so that I could get them correct. And then the student would just click submit. If the teacher has made a self-scoring quiz, they can click view score. It's going to tell them if they got it correct and how many points they would have gotten. Here, I told my quiz which answers were correct, but I did not assign any points to it, but they would see that up there. Then back in Classroom, if they're done with that, they can just go over here and just click mark as done. So that just lets the teacher know that they've completed that assignment. And on their assignments here that we were looking at, it's let them know what they've turned in and what they have not yet done. So turning in assignments or marking assignments as done is a great way for students to be able to keep track of what they still need to do. The other things that they might see is they might see materials. So I put in 2 different types of materials here. Students might encounter a video that teachers have posted. All they have to do is go in and click on it. I'm not going to force you to listen to Cuckoo Kangaroo. And then they may have materials that are things like websites. So I've linked just the GRCSU PD website here so that we are taken to something. And so then it just links them. So teachers may have a bunch of different websites linked into one post for students to be able to see. You'll notice here there's nothing that students have to turn in. There's nothing that they have to mark as done because it's not an assignment. All right, I'm going to take a pause for a second and stop presenting. Are there any questions so far on what students see within Google Classroom? Or what are some things that you have encountered this past spring that you are wondering more about? Okay. If something pops up, please don't be afraid to ask. So I'm going to present my screen again. There are a few other things that we want to take a look at that the students see, and then I'm going to show you what parents see. All right, so back here under my classwork, you're going to notice that there is a button up there for Meet. It is the same link that was on the stream page, so students can come here to join their classroom Meet. The Google Calendar is also here, but then we have a new button that is our Class Drive folder. So if we click on our Class Drive folder, when a student joins a new classroom, they are automatically given a folder within their drive called Classroom. And so here is the one that we have here. It is, and it's, well, let me go back to the start. So here's my Google Drive. Here is my folder within my drive called Classroom. Google Classroom automatically makes that for students. If they open that up, they will then see a folder for each classroom that they've joined. So the class that we are currently in is Google Classroom from a student and guardian point of view. So I have a folder that's titled that, or from a student perspective. If I open that, now I'm going to see different assignments that were assigned to me. So a student who needs to complete their summer reflection can go right into Google Classroom, and they can click on summer reflection and they can enter it that way. They can go right into their Google Drive folder and they can also open it that way. So they've got different ways of accessing it. Different students find different methods to be easier for them. Now, when a student turns in their assignment, we're going to turn this in even though we haven't really completed it. It's always going to ask you, are you sure? We're going to turn it in. And then what we're going to do is we are going to open it. Let's say I forgot something. Let it think for a second. Now, you're going to notice that the view of my document is very different. I no longer have all my editing tools up here, and it tells me I need to request edit access. So if a student is going in to work on an assignment and this is what they see, chances are they have already turned it in. So how does a student go back and edit their work? You don't want them to request edit access because that just inundates the teacher with many emails, and students can actually do this themselves. If they go back to their assignment, they can click Unsubmit. It will ask them if they're sure.
Miss Bennett, can you come to my office, please? Thank you.
And then all they have to do is click Unsubmit. Now they have that document. We'll enter from Google or from Drive again. And now you're going to notice all of their editing tools are back. They can go in, they can continue to work on it or fix whatever needs to be done, and then they can turn it in again. I'm trying to think if there is anything else that students might have difficulty with. The people within their classroom, I don't know that they see the other students, but they will see all of the teachers that have access to the classroom. So especially at the elementary level, you have the classroom teacher, you have specials teachers, you might have literacy and math coaches, interventionists. So they might see lots of different people. It does give them the option to email. I have never had a student use that option, but perhaps at your in your middle and upper grades, they might choose to use that if they have a question. I know that at least in the elementary level, we've recommended that they turn off students' ability to comment so it doesn't fill up their stream and their assignments with just conversation that students have. And so that would allow them to ask the teacher a question that way. Okay, any questions before I show you what parents see? I know I've said that once already, but give a few minutes for questions before moving on. Okay, so let's look at what a parent sees. I have invited, the classroom that we are in is, or the student that we are is the Proctor Elementary School social media. And so I have invited myself as a parent, and this is what parents see. And actually, I was going to show you. Okay, this is the first email that parents will get. When you invite a guardian to your Google Classroom, you enter their email address and it sends them an email saying, hey, the teacher has invited you to be part of their Google Classroom. You'll get a weekly summary of the student's progress with missing and upcoming work and any new teacher posts. So the parent then has the ability to accept the invitation or to say, I'm not the guardian, and to decline it. From there, they will automatically get a pop-up that asks how often they want to receive notifications. The parents' choices are to receive them daily or to receive them weekly, and that would just be parental preference. I know that when my students were in, or when my kids were in school last year, I chose to ask for them daily, just that way I could, okay. I just wanted to know what they were doing. So this is what parents get. The parents do not get access to the Google Classroom. Parents cannot log in. They cannot see what I just showed you. That is only available from a student point of view. What parents do get is that they will get a summary. And in this case, I've chosen to get a daily summary. And it's going to show you, hey, here's student work. Due in the next few days is the summer reflection, and it will tell you the due date, and the staying active. And it'll tell you the due date in this one because I put in a description when I assigned it. It gives you the description. As a parent, you cannot see the student's actual work. You can't click anything to be taken into the classroom to see more of a description or to see what's attached. So the parent end of things is pretty limiting. So it's still useful for parents to know what's coming up. There is a section that will come at, I think, the bottom that will let parents know if students have missing work. So it comes in red and it says missing assignments, and it'll tell the parent what the assignment is, a description, and when the due date was. So that is all parents will see. So Lisa asked, could I please talk a little bit about how students know if they can comment on students' posts, etc., and when they can't? Yeah, so I think I did not turn off the ability to post on this. I'm going to present in a different way, and maybe what we'll do is we can go into the classroom as a teacher and turn that off, and then go back in as a student and see what that looks like. So let me see here. So here I'm in that same classroom I'm in as a teacher. It looked very similar from the teacher's point of view. The difference is the class code that's written up there, as well as I now have a grades tab if you choose to use that. So I'm coming over to the People's tab. This is where once your students are all in, there's the option right under here where it says email all guardians. It will give you the option to invite a guardian, and it's a blue link. You click on it, and then you can add the parent's email address, and it will send that email to them. So if I don't want students to be able to post or to comment, all I have to do is click the students, and if I go up to actions, I click mute. And so what this does is it tells students can still submit work. They cannot reply to classmates' work. So this is the big one here. They can't comment or post. So I'm going to click that I want to mute Proctor Elementary School. It shows the speaker with the line through it. So as the teacher, I know they're muted. And now if I go back to Google Classroom as Proctor Elementary School, I'm going to refresh it. And let's go into Classwork here. And let's go into our first one, view assignment. Do you notice down here it says class comments? I do not have the ability to comment down here. Over here on the right-hand side, it says private comments. I can comment here, and that goes to the teacher only. So it still lets students communicate with the teacher if they're completing this assignment. The kid might have a question. Their question might be, Mrs. Smith, it says the assignment is worth 100 points, but the rubric is for 4 points, which is correct. So maybe they have a comment for me, they'll send that. The class won't see it, but if I go into my classroom here, and if I go into that assignment as the teacher, let's see. Yep, I'm not sure. Staying active. Oh, okay. So down here, so when I go to the student work page, I have all of my students listed over here. And so if I click on that specific student, I can see their work and I can see, hey, they've given me a question. I can respond to that. And then I can respond back to them. And if we refresh this, it should come back to them in the same place that they commented to me. So this way, I know so now you can see the comment that I made back to the student. As a former classroom teacher, one of the things the kids loved to do when I would leave and a substitute would be in the room was they would go onto their Google Classroom. They would look like they were working, but they were really having their own conversations in the class comment stream. And so number one, it wasn't productive use of their time. And number two, it just cluttered our Google Classroom. So what I then started doing was muting students. And it then limited their interactions to things like if I wanted them to have a collaborative discussion, I might then ask them a question instead, which would be the appropriate place for them to have a question, or maybe it would take place in a Google Doc or Flipgrid or something where it was more appropriate. What other questions do we have? Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Does anybody want the code to get into that classroom to play?
How's it going, Corey?
Okay. So if there's no questions, yes, good question. Becky, I think that we will find some way to share something like this with parents because I do think that would be valuable for them, especially if they have remote students and the parents are the ones that are at home trying to help them. So yes, we will find a way to get this out. Okay, I am going to end our recording. And if anybody wants to stick around, ask any other questions, or if you would like to get the code to go into that classroom and play, just let me know. And thank you all for coming.